Second thing I'm going to do is share. Here it is. Share screen. Find that. All right, everyone see the browser?
Yes.
All right, awesome. Welcome to the January 18th iteration, 2022 iteration of the MicroProfile Live Hangout. A link to the meeting minutes is in the chat. And please add yourself to the meeting minutes as a contributor if you're on the call. And it is everyone's, I think, shared responsibility to take notes. And today is a bit of a one-off. We are going to be doing a 2021 retrospective. So, you know, the good and the bad, we don't have to go to ugly. The good and the bad, things that we can improve on, right? And things that we think that we, you know, that have gone well. And let's see if we can make it an even better 2022. Okay. So, I guess let's start out with, you know, let's do the reverse order so we can end on a happier note with the retrospectives. Let's do things that we could have improved on, you know, in 2022, improve on from 2021.
John, before you go on, may I interject here? In the side below, with the retrospective, back in November, we chatted about needing a retrospective under the working group using the 2021 program plan. So what I did was really quickly went to Excel, it's created, and a spreadsheet is here, added under 622. The spreadsheet is here, and the question is, please check it out. See if this is something that through tabs that we can acquire in future years. I do not believe that a retrospective should be a one-off. I believe that we need to do something that is iterable. If it's not iterable, it needs to be dropped. So the first step is this, and it uses every single item under the working group project plan. It's very specific, it's public edits, and it will allow any microprofiler to use one line at the name and say whatever, even grade it. We can adjust it, but I think it is important for us to create a process. Without the process, we will not have something that we can look at 2 years from now or 3 years. Also, future members can see that level of transparency and how we own it. And when we talk about bad things and good things, we should see it all as a balance because we need a little bit of everything. We're not perfect. Okay. So,
all right. Yeah. So I don't want to spend too much time on process. I generally like the idea of putting it in a spreadsheet, tying it to the program plan. I don't necessarily know if I entirely agree with that because there's things that are just around process or whatever that may not neatly or tightly fit into the program plan. But generally, I like the idea of just kind of using a spreadsheet with a name, optional name next to it. Because where we started going here is everyone started providing their individual with good and needs improvement individually in separate sections. I would like to kind of have one section that's areas that we can improve on, right? Maybe with a name next to each item if people want to put their names there. And then a complete section on you know, what went well. So if you don't mind, Amelia, I think what I'm going to do is, just for now,
we can lower it, modify it.
Yeah, I'm just going to insert 20. Actually, for now, I'm just going to do this.
And apologies that I didn't send it early. I missed the first email you sent back when, due to vacation. So then I saw your reminder and I thought, oh my gosh, we missed it.
So just a quick note, we did file JIRAs or GitHub issues for all the items in our plan. Maybe we could update those periodically throughout the year with status, or, you know, just so we'd have something that we could look at to get an idea of where things ended in the year.
We can add those Git issues here as well.
Right. I just, you like once this spreadsheet tab gets closed, I think a lot of us are not going to look at it.
Yeah, and we did it like that with Roberto's help last week.
Yep.
For the technical items.
Yeah.
So we can, the link is in the minutes, and it doesn't have the Git issue because this is the first time actually we are showing it, show and tell. So it can be adjusted. I think that is a great idea to add Git issues, which we use for everything. But as you can see, I didn't go through it because that would take time. Why will I waste my time on things that might not be likable for many of you?
I like this freeform thing. So like, you know, not all the ideas we have for improvement are going to fit within the issues. It's just when we did have items on the plan, we should maybe just kind of, and we were pretty meticulous and made sure that there were GitHub issues for every bullet on every slide of our plan, which is awesome. So, you know, that would be a great place to do tracking throughout the year.
Yeah, we
You
just
know, and if at the end of the year we open up the issue and there's no comments on that, well, obviously we didn't get anywhere.
For now, I'm just going to leave the rating stuff out of it. We should probably put a little bit more thought into that. Other areas to improve. Again, some people started identifying them here, but you just want to, Edwin, or actually David, is there anything else that you thought we could improve on?
That's, I mean, I'm sure I'll have thoughts as we continue the call, but
okay. That's cool. David, I think sorry, Edwin, I think I saw you writing down some ideas.
Yeah, I have written down two. So the first one is alignment with Jakarta E9.
So that's what went well, right?
Sorry. Yeah.
Well.
Exactly. So that went well.
Sorry, and the second one? The second idea?
What went well?
Actually, we're kind of doing areas to improve.
Yeah, I started off on the wrong foot. Sorry, I just messed up. Okay, so the improve areas, partnership with Jakarta MPWG. I think there's a lot more potential there to collaborate than has been done. There were good initiatives like the CN4J, but I think we shouldn't leave that this. We should come together again. I think there's a lot. Sorry if my throat is a little bit sore, but there's a lot of potential there to gain in the discussions we have. Where should the specification land and how should we adopt it where and stuff like that.
John,
I don't like the wording, but I'm just trying to capture things.
But are we going to make it so that you write for everyone else? But that will not be as scalable and for beyond today.
Hey,
can everyone?
I'm just trying to start the conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you're willing to do it, go ahead.
It's fine. It's fine.
I'm just paying attention that you are doing amazing, John. But it doesn't have to be just you. It can be all of us, and it can be.
Let's keep the ideas going.
Yeah.
All right, people can type in, and if so, let's try that. People can type in, and then we can discuss things as we see them. You know, interesting things pop up, and go from there.
Okay, so can I discuss in this last topic?
Oh yeah, sure. Here.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking if we were only going to add topics here or if we were going to discuss them as well. But
we can discuss them as we go. People can type in as we're doing discussions. Then let's try that and see how it goes.
Regarding definitely the Jakarta partnership needs to improve, and I probably brought this up multiple times in the past, and I'm probably going to bring it up again. So sorry if I'm being repetitive, but at least from my perspective, the feeling that I have is that there is not much collaboration happening, right? And every time that we tried to collaborate with Jakarta, we just got stuff moved to Jakarta. So meaning that basically MicroProfile gave way more to Jakarta than Jakarta gave to MicroProfile. And that's not like a healthy thing, right? So to mind, we can just start with config, right? So we pretty much stop any config work on MicroProfile because Jakarta wants to use it. And the resolution was, we want to make a Jakarta specification and we don't want to use MicroProfile, right? And that conversation happened on other specific things, right? So in a smaller scale for context propagation. And of course, there is also talks on moving REST client to Jakarta. I mean, and I'm not here saying what makes sense or not. I mean, I understand things have to be discussed on a specific basis, right? So each of these cases have their own specific reasons, but the feeling that you get in the end is, well, okay, this goes to Jakarta, that one went to Jakarta, that went to Jakarta as well. So what's left in MicroProfile?
Yeah, okay, and by the way, I don't necessarily want to turn this into long discussions on a single topic. These are things that we can definitely come back to. Otherwise, I was just going to deep dive on one thing and not get a full retrospective. So, Roberto, I think your point's taken. Amelia, or sorry, Emily.
So can I just quickly say something? I think for this area improve, we can briefly discuss. Also, we should come up with a plan. So it's not like just a list there, have a brief discussion. And what's next? So basically, we need to have an action. So for that, for this EE working group partnership, maybe the action is resume the EE CN4J core. So we'll discuss where should the MicroProfile focus, where should the Jakarta focus? So we can go from there.
I mean, we had that topic and there was never any consensus. People vehemently disagreed with the fact that even conceptually, there could be different focuses for each. And everyone always brought the conversation, not everyone. Some people always brought the conversation back around to why can't they just be equal and everyone can do everything the same. And with that in the room, there's no possibility for differentiation, which was really kind of where we were headed from the beginning. But
okay. Again, I don't want to deep dive on these topics.
Yeah.
Just because, again, we're not going to get a full, I think, retrospective.
Okay.
So it looks like number 5 is improve innovation. Jan, not lose members. I added 2. I think we need to improve expediency, and just basically, sometimes things take a little long. Guilty as charged. And I think we could do better just around execution. I also put down more specification contributors because I know there's a lot of people on many specifications, and I just think we need to attract more specification, knowledge experts to contribute to specifications to get a more broad involvement.
John, on that one, I was going to say, be much more aware of nominations for committers. I think last year we only had 1. So areas to improve is when I see it is linked not only with code, but also documentation and marketing. And I think literally we failed on that one. We have many good contributors and they have yet to become committers. And this year, hopefully in Q1, we fix that. It's just that we missed the mark on that one. So let's call it out.
Yeah, every committer should have, think about who to nominate. So I would like to.
Oh, but there are things that are linked, right? So when you have no innovation happening, it means that the project didn't have too many commits going because, I mean, there was if you look what we did, right? So there was not much code going, there was not much innovation going. So meaning that there was no commit going. So of course, less committers committing code. So all of this is linked, right?
Roberto,
I think that's a very good observation.
Yeah, add Roberto to that one as well, John, line 8, because it's true.
I think we should spend more time talk about innovation.
Yeah.
So
I do want to be careful in the sense that it says no innovation, and that's maybe like too extreme, because we did have releases of component specifications that did have new features, and there was work done on the open telemetry front, particularly Emily and Roberto did spend a lot of time with that community to figure out what the landscape is there, so I wouldn't say that was no work. I would just say it was maybe not the pace we're used to.
So I think is probably I point more towards create a new spec. So even though we say, okay, open telemetry, but it's pretty much trying to supersede open tracing. I'm fine with the slow innovation or not much innovation. So I would like to say is to see why is it kind of the slow innovation. Is that because of process? Or is that because of the resources? So I feel like in Jakarta, this is my observation. In Jakarta, it seems the spec is a new spec idea got accepted. Quite quickly. So basically, it's not many people challenging this and challenging that. And besides, MicroProfile should move faster. We have this a standalone spec. Should we use what we established 4 years ago? So basically, it's open-minded. So basically, it's encourage people to start new things and then just release as a standalone, and before it grew more popularity. After it grew more popularity and then merge into the platform release. It's not challenging. Okay, you prove a couple products have implemented this. I don't even see this in Jakarta land.
Okay.
How do we summarize that, Emily? Mm-hmm. Maybe you want to write it?
Yes, summarize it basically open to new ideas and not pushing back. I know it's we had a discussion on the for the data access, and people keep on pushing off. And then now it's kind of very soon there will be a Jakarta data access. So I think even though it's new spec is go to Jakarta, maybe there's another reason. Jakarta is welcome new ideas. MicroProfile is trying to set a bar high. At the moment, I don't see it's a low bar, to be honest, because it's kind of a lot of pushback. Instead of saying, yeah, let's go and try it out. And we have the process. We have the standalone releases. I think we should more kind of have this real low bar entry. So if someone has new ideas, go ahead to do it.
But we have the sandbox. We have the sandbox. Are you talking about creating a new spec without having logical maintenance in the future for it? Because if you refer to that, Emily, on how complicated it is to create a new spec, well, there are some barriers to entry because it is important and it deals with maintenance of the code and in development. But ideas can start from scratch. We have the box that allows, the sandbox that allows anyone, even one person, to work on it for months at a time. And it doesn't need to have a call or anything. So I disagree with this. The bar to entry is low for technology.
No, I disagree. Can I just say, The sandbox is still playground. It's kind of you can demonstrate your sandbox, but before it's being a new project created, that's still your own thinking cap. For Jakarta, basically you have this plan review and then you accept it and then you have a project created so that people is come together to collaborate and to start evolving. But sandbox is still sandbox. There's nothing concrete. So it's there's no route to graduate.
Well, I mean, I see them as similar. The concept of the sandbox is that you can start collaborating with people immediately. You don't have to even wait for anything, right? You know, and what you know, so any idea that someone has, ideally, they start working on it and use actual progress to attract people into it.
Yeah, if we think the entry level, if we think the entry into MicroProfile is harder than Jakarta, then something is broken, because Jakarta, uses a more formal process, right? With project creation, whereas we have a sandbox, which theoretically anyone should be able to check out and submit something, right? Any committer. So if we aren't using that process effectively, then we need to address that.
So,
right?
So the point is, John, from the sandbox to the real repo, that's a problem. So how can we promote ideas from sandbox to repo? So what a process to follow? Is that all the idea in sandbox will be, end up in the repo? Or we keep on discussing for years and nothing end up in the repo?
Do we have things in the sandbox that have been stuck there for years?
Yeah, so like the logging and the other was with called booster or something like that. We discuss and nothing happened.
Well, logging we discussed and agreed to not move logging forward.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
But...
So basically, what I'm saying is something end up in sandbox. I feel like this is a pre-wash cycle. So what's the process from sandbox to the real repo? So are we still we also do the plan review?
Yeah.
And then so that's this is what I'm saying. In Jakarta, you directly go to plan review and then something else. For us, okay, we have a sandbox and then plan review and then go through.
Well, no, it has to go plan creation first.
Yeah, plan creation.
Yeah,
project creation. Yeah,
creation review.
So
yeah, sorry.
Explain why you feel this entry point is lower. So I feel it's no different or even more.
So I've got a thought on that, but hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Edwin's got his hand raised.
Oh, I didn't see.
Yeah, I was wondering, since both Jakarta and MicroProfile are working groups, we have to follow the same process on the Eclipse Foundation, right? So are the formal processes the same in the end?
Yes and no, because what we have is the semi-formality of a step before project creation, right? Where we just test ideas out before and then decide whether or not we think the idea is valid to create a project, or I shouldn't say a project because we only have one project in MicroProfile, but essentially, create a plan. So we kind of have the semi-formality of an additional step. But Jan, you're also raising your hand? Yes,
I think with some experience working on open telemetry now in the sandbox, that's a great thing. And people could just start there we block ourselves to some degree sometimes because we do not finish PRs. So that blocks a little bit. But that was team internally, I think, and could be solved there. Having a sandbox and being able to work there in an early state, that's pretty nice. And we should keep that as it is, I think. What might be a reason that a lot of innovation is created within Jakarta is that additional Jakarta dependencies are needed for these technologies, like gRPC, for example, or that data source thingy highly depends on persistence API and the NoSQL, for example. And these are already Jakarta specifications. And therefore, for some of the people, it doesn't make sense to create it within a MicroProfile, because then MicroProfile, when it will be part of the platform, all these dependencies need to be included too in the core profile, for example. And that doesn't make sense to blow it up that much. And another main point that was said by the people is, yeah, we don't want to change the namespace later on when it will be on transition to Jakarta EE. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to try and summarize where I think we're at. I've got comments. I'm going to try and hold off on those as well. But it does seem like we need to, in some cases, like gRPC, I actually don't think it's necessarily tied to the dependencies, because we have REST client, right? That was successful, very successful. I think it more had to get back to my point of expediency, right? And just doing the work and moving forward. It does seem like we have some area to improve on the sandbox. Is it effective use of the sandbox? Is it the formality of, like, when do we need a formality of saying this is when it moves from a sandbox to a plan? And I apologize for whoever I kind of caught before. Actually, I think it was Edwin, where I said you have to create a project first. Well, in MicroProfile, we only have one project. So you were right. It is really creating a plan. So when do we transition from going from a sandbox to a plan, right? Do we need some kind of formality for that?
Yeah, so this is my point. The other thing is that we discussed this sandbox is also I mentioned on the, I think we discussed that, is that step is optional. It's
right.
not mandatory. So I think for the transition, so it's kind of, I think it's can judged by the sandbox creator. So the project, the kind of the proposal creator, so it can start the kind of plan creation review whenever they feel comfortable with.
So Emily, Roberto, you have a hand up, so you can go, but let me ask something to Emily. In row 9, are you still comfortable saying that it's too high for accepting new ideas, even though we're talking about the sandbox? Because many of us disagree with this, that is too high. Sandbox exists because, and there is nothing in sandbox that has not become a spec yet. So there are no examples. So I think this is should be rewritten. Roberto, go ahead.
So you ask my question.
Yeah, I'm asking.
Can I at least answer it? So I still think this is kind of there's no process. So it's about accepting new ideas. So let's go back to the gRPC. Is when it was first, proposed in MicroProfile. At that time, and there's a volunteer, I think Alex came to MicroProfile and very passionate. And then I feel like it's kind of put it back, and then this pushback and seeing, all the different pushback and etc. I think what we suffer is there's no written process. So different people say, no, you can't do it. And then people will say, oh, no, I can't do it. So if we have the written process, so it's basically, everyone can share their view. However, we just go through the formal process. We just do a creation review, and then we document it clearly. Sandbox is optional. If the working group approves our idea, they'll go ahead to do that proposal.
Hey, John, can you quickly just click the link that I mentioned that I just posted?
As far as I remember, there is
in the chat.
A wiki page.
Yes.
Sorry, Robert. Roberto. Sorry, it's in the chat.
Yep.
Okay. Forward here.
Yeah, there you go. So that was also, I remember, because we had that discussion
already
some time ago, and when we documented that into that wiki page.
Yeah, I did this. I documented. However, it keep on coming back, and people
right. So we have step 0. It's clearly marked as optional, and step 1 is plan review. So we do have this already documented, right? So Ken and I wrote the first version of it. Emily, I believe you updated it this last year because of feedback that it didn't incorporate the specification process appropriately. That was, I think Ed made that feedback, which was accurate. And I think that we closed the loop on this.
Yeah, I agree. If we just everyone just use this as the guideline, as a rule, as a process, and then we run with it. And instead of all different people have a different view on this.
And anyway,
by the way, I'm going to give 5 more minutes to this and then switch over to the what went well. Okay, so just so we're not turning this into
anyway, and this is, for me, this is the elephant in the room, really, because I probably hate getting into this, but we have to ask the following question: what is my incentive to create something MicroProfile or Jakarta, right? Because right now there is no real reason for me to create a project in MicroProfile. I'll just go and create it straight in Jakarta, because if I want to if we want to have a project that Jakarta uses, I don't want to go for the rename of the namespace, because that's just a complete pain, and people hate pain. So more naturally, of course, they will gonna choose to do it in Jakarta, because they're not gonna have to pay that cost.
Okay, so I'm going to summarize this. I think there's some topics that we have to resolve, that we didn't resolve, that need to get resolved this year. I think address namespace issue with Jakarta, or Jakarta namespace issue.
So I also want to add one more thing.
Hold on, before, Emily, sorry, before you go ahead, can we let Mike go in? He has said nothing yet.
Oh, his hand's been up for a while.
Mm-hmm. No, I just turned on the hand, right? No, I just wanted to quickly mention about the Cloud Native for Java initiative that we did last summer. Actually, almost a year ago, I think we started it. And last I remember, there was a lot of back and forth on how to document the differences between MicroProfile and Jakarta EE working groups. And I know there were a number of meetings that I had missed, so I don't know where that actually wound up ending. If we actually got the word out there, does it, that exists? So I don't know if that could go under the better collaboration with the Jakarta EE working group, but I thought it might be worth mentioning the Cloud Native for Java.
So we did, we had the marketing aspect of it, and we completed that around positioning and messaging. We started the technical ones, but it just felt like we were having technical calls for the sake of having technical calls, because we weren't ready yet, I think, when we were having those calls to talk about the namespace issue, right? Or maybe where to begin projects. I think we're probably at that point now for the namespace issue.
Before you switch over, one quick thing. I think we really need to figure out where do we want to focus for the innovation.
So that might be it. giving a concrete example would definitely be helpful. So if we had a project in MicroProfile that we wanted to begin this calendar year, and we wanted to address the namespace, well, we would want to address the namespace issue up front if it's used. Converters is a very good one. But we need to start on converters.
Yeah, the other thing is kind of where do we want to innovate? Maybe focus more on the cloud infrastructure that, and so yeah, so this is all can discussed in the CM4G.
Okay, we got 1 minute left. Nope, sorry, my clock just flipped.
That's perfect.
So let's go over to what went well. So we did achieve MicroProfile 5.0 with Jakarta 9.1 alignment. So, we could pat ourselves on the back for that one. And 19, Edwin, working according to working group guidelines and principles. You want to explain that a little bit, Edwin?
I hope my wording is correct. What I meant to say is that we became a working group, and we did start behaving like a working group. Like of course we have to, but we are taking it very seriously, in my opinion, and that should benefit us in the future.
Okay. More streamlined marketing agenda, Neha.
Yep. So I mostly worked on the marketing agenda. I've seen number of Git issues opened and closed, and how we were doing in the beginning of the year and now where we are. So I see a lot of improvements, and thanks to all the stewards who were doing a lot of good work, and we helped each other. So I just wanted to say thanks, and it was a good job for everyone.
Awesome. And Amelia?
Documentation. We have done, and many of you, everyone here, has been a part of the documentation, not only for the working group as a whole, but also on the marketing. So we're scaling. That means that if someone is sick or on vacation, there is a way for someone else to follow up and improve the documentation that continues to be written currently. Under the marketing side, we always are improving things because that is not the it person. And then in the specification, I have a question, and this goes for Edwin, Emerson, and Emily. You guys wrote, everyone has written the specification, how to run the release, and we have that for the technical and the marketing. And now the question is, for the future release, who is going to be the lead for that? Is it Emerson? And then do we bring, when we talk about how to make it so that the next technical release is successful, it should not be Edwin and Emily doing it again. There should be the helpers of someone absolutely new. This could be new as in charge of it. My example
is this what we're doing well?
We're doing really well on trainee and trainer. I think we're doing super well on that, and maybe Emerson can say it, but Neha is here, Caitlin is here. They can say how they scale, how they are helping with the documentation, because they are in charge of doing the job. If you're not in charge of doing the job, you don't have room to fail. I think we have improved this greatly in 2021 because there is room to fail, and you can fail nicely and fast. And we're doing the same for the technical side, but not in a level that maybe is much more aggressive like we do it in the marketing side, right? So I'm asking, can we improve it there? Because like the alignment is there, it's great. Is there room for improvement? And, because it went so well with 3 of you.
Well, again, this is really the what went well section, but I do think we'll want to see if we can get Emerson as a committer and therefore able to lead a release, because I don't think Emerson's currently.
No, it's not. He needs to become one.
Yeah, which is by the way the issue that we had initially with Edwin as well, right? And so we used going through a release to make him a committer, right? in training mode, but now he's leading releases. So I don't want to, again, I kind of want to keep this as high level. So does anyone else? I'll tell you what. Does anyone else that hasn't spoken yet want to add something to what they think went well? And by the way, Paul, this could or be improved, I guess. Also from the Eclipse Foundation's perspective, or Ed from Oracle, or Summers, or someone that hasn't spoken yet. Do you have any thoughts on either one of these?
I think what went well was shipping releases through the EFSP. Because I think we're 4.1 and 5. And following and understanding, adopting, implementing the EFSP was, I thought went quite well.
Awesome.
Yeah, 2 releases in a year.
Yeah, I'd like, sorry, Summers, go ahead.
I was going to say another thing that we did well was, I feel like, as far as the business of running a open source group, we did a good job of making that visible and approachable and discussing it on mailing lists and things like getting the budget approved and that whole process. It was very transparent and was really good for the community at large, and just being able to see it happen in the way that it did. And so I think that actually, as a whole, is good. We were very open about the business of this thing, and that's not always the case.
Open, transparent, and approachable. Sorry. Parent and approach. Okay. Ed, I don't know if you have anything.
We definitely were happy with the ESF. The same things that Paul said earlier. And getting the 4.1 and 5.0 releases out. Yay.
Yay. Okay, cool. Nathan, sorry.
Emerson.
Well, so I'm going through the list here as they kind of show up on my screen. And by the way, at this point, because we have 13 minutes left, let's see if we can get people to comment on either, as I call you out, either the areas to improve or what went well. So Nathan, any thoughts?
Not really, honestly. I've been doing other work in the background here, so just listening in.
Yep, that's fine. Martin.
Yeah, not really. I think that we did well.
Okay. And now Emerson.
No, any particular thing about additional to what I heard already, but I feel we become a really welcoming community, and in some way working on diversity and inclusion has been also an important issue in the last year.
Caitlin?
Well, yeah, I'll echo what Emerson said. I joined at the end of November, but very, very welcoming. I really vibe with how feedback is constant and harmless, very easy to take, easy to learn. It's not scary to try stuff. And documentation, there's so much information out there, which is great. I think the trick is making it easier to find and navigate. So that's something that's going well and can continue to go better.
Okay, and I don't know, Tanya, if you wanted to bring up, if you had any thoughts that haven't been mentioned already. Okay, yeah, Tanya.
I'm sorry, I was on mute and stepped away from the computer. So continuity is really one of the things that have been going well with the MicroProfile. It's been quite a few years.
So can you, what was that word? Was it continuity?
Yeah, continuity, like, you know, it's steady progress all along. And you're, as a team, discussing how to move forward. So I find that something that's definitely good.
Awesome. I think I caught everyone that is on the call. And I guess with about 10 minutes to go, if anyone else has thoughts around what went well or what needs to improve.
Hey, I thought what went well is that the chair constantly ran effective meetings throughout the year. Organized.
Here. Yay.
Good agendas.
I'm telling you,
were in place.
I highly back
sorts
the
of
chair being
interesting
a paid position. Thank you very much, Paul. Seriously,
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, nicely done, John.
It's usually a thankless job, but we don't have to make it that way. So thank you, John.
Well put.
I'll put down awesome chair.
I am always calling you awesome.
You're more than welcome to phrase it exactly like that.
John, I am always calling you awesome in the community forums. I mean, I'm really blunt on this. You are awesome.
And for commenter, you can write unanimous.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Amelia.
Let's put it there.
Yeah, and also Edwin was a commuter rep, and I think he did a fantastic job, being absolutely wonderful on his job for the year that he chose to do so. And that is another topic that was added to the agenda, Edwin. I think we all, many of us cheer you and say, hey, please run again. But you didn't submit, your nomination. So maybe you can reconsider and you can become the 2022 FYI. It's added to the agenda.
One quick thing to add in the improvements. I want to see more votes from the community on all of our ballots. It doesn't have to just be vendors.
I'm voting for the community as a new member this year or last year.
Yeah, but you're voting as an official member, right? So, like one of the things that we mentioned earlier is that, like all the committers can be voting, and that will help us see if, we're listening to all the committers, right? But nobody votes other than the members, with rare exception.
Good point. That could we communicate to all the people involved.
We just need to be way more encouraging with that, like continuously.
Yeah.
Yes,
The other thing.
That's a good point.
That would require, community members who aren't part of the committee or the working group to join the mailing list, right? Anybody can join the working group mailing list if I'm correct on that.
Yep. Anybody can vote, but specifically, I'd love to hear from contributors. Like people who worked on the specifications, and to be given their vote, even if they work for a member organization, just vote.
I think, David, what Mike is saying is that they need to join the working group mailing list first, so can see the voting going on. And then you are right, we should encourage them to vote. I do have a couple of things to add what went well. One thing went well, finally we started MicroProfile open telemetry. The other thing went well, I appreciate for them, like MicroProfile 5 release. So I give also within 2 weeks of voting, we got it within 1 week. So I really appreciate the big effort from every working group members. So in that way, we got the 5.0 out in December. Otherwise, probably it's going to be this year.
Good call out.
Yeah.
The 1 week votes. That was a team effort.
Yeah, that's a great team effort. Also, it's Thanksgiving and etc. Also, kind of people got a vacation, but they all came on board. So that's a lot.
Yeah, and you remembered all the members that need to vote, so that helped too.
Also, something that we did well was we disconnected the agenda item. I think we can improve this, but we, at the end of the year, we always tend to take the last 2 weeks of the year and the first week of the year off, 3 weeks. And I think we did really well on that early on. Sometimes we forget about it. And my recommendation is add it into the minutes, will be follow up, and the next call is for us to have a process where there are no nominations submitted during that period, no elections, no voting, no hard discussions. I think we need to improve. There are something that we did good because we continue to do so as a tradition, but then also in the improvements, we need to create a documentation that states that during that period, microprofilers can continue to work in code and whatever they want to, as they want, but they should not be expected to have the voting going and committee nominations going, or any discussions starting that expect a deadline and things like this. I think we can improve that. So 2, good things and improvements.
So I added a comment in there about what went well, that more Java groups joined, to complement, Atlanta JUG, that was one of the original founding members. And just as to add another comment to that, maybe we can recruit more. I think Chicago has it, but
Sorry, I'm looking for that. You have that listed here somewhere?
27.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, I had a hard time editing, but I'm on my phone too. So anyway, I got in what I could. So
yeah, so people not say I only say negative things. I had the technical calls. Yeah, I know people complain about that because I think that we restarted the technical calls. So actually, before there were the architectural calls, and when we started them this year, we at the time we thought that the project was lacking some technical direction. Especially, we only had the community call every week, and most of the time was used to discuss other stuff. And especially when the working group was being formed, it was taking pretty much all the time of the call. And then we had like 5 or 10 minutes left to discuss technical things. So I believe it was important for us to bring back a place for us to discuss technical things. So we tried to align the project technically and have those discussions, and especially split some of the audience, right? Because some audience is coming from the marketing side or the Eclipse folks. Nothing against you, right? But maybe those topics are not really interesting for some people, right? And then sometimes we had calls where like some people were like just getting bored because we were discussing things that they were not interested with.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. The other thing is I attend quite a few group spec course. They are very good as well. Like OpenTelemetry, we have weekly course, very productive, and also Metrics have a weekly course, very productive.
I also think we improved in using the community forum for updates on the releases. And I know that over communication is a little bit, we always like shied of it, but I think we did much better this year than previous years with communication on what is happening with the updates. And if there are delays, we own them immediately through the community forum. We have over 1,200 subscribers, and maybe not all of them are active, but given the inventory that we might have to do at the end of the quarter Q1, we will see, usually the inactive gets removed, something like this, but I think we did really well.
Oh yeah, that's a good call, Amelia. I think really the checklist we created on the marketing about publishing release. So I think it's all come from the the past experience. I think it worked really well for MicroProfile 5.0. This is another reason we get 5.0 out on 7th December.
Communication. So it's like meeting communications was great because sometimes I only joined one technical call, and I think I only joined because there was an issue with the call landing on things and never making it to the forum. And then my feedback directly was, can this call make it to the forum? You know, it's not like you have to copy paste the minutes. And I believe that you, Emily and Roberto, did a fantastic job on that side, making sure that the call was scalable. And, you know, and not only for MP5, I think it was also for the previous release and for everything else happening technical, you know, so kudos on that.
All right, with this, I think I am going to wind down today's call. I am pleasantly surprised that what went well outnumbers areas to improve. Because often these kind of calls tend to, you know, result in kind of being complaining about things. And I think we did a good job balancing things out, right? So kudos to everybody on that. And we could take a look if we think that these, you know, what we want to do with these columns. I do like the idea to see, you know, how we utilized what went well and did we execute on areas to improve, right? So let's figure that out, but that'll be for another call. And I have to drop because I have to go pick up my daughter. So thanks everyone for the call today. Next week is the technical call, same bat time, same bat channel. Thanks everyone.
Thanks everyone. Thanks everyone.
Thanks everybody.
Bye all. Take care.
Bye everyone.
Happy New Year.
New Year.